Have you been out in the world, walking around, and saying to yourself, people aren't as empathetic anymore. People don't really talk to their neighbors. People don't start conversations with other people. People can't seem to place themselves in situations of other people that are struggling. And it's funny because everybody talks about this village, wanting a village, but nobody actually wants to be a villager. There's this cycle that continues on and on again, where people choose to not help others, and so others feel like they don't need to help others back. If they feel like they've been wronged in the world, if they feel like they should have had somebody be there for them, in turn, it propagates the idea that nobody else would really be there for them, so why would I give the effort to help others? So, today I'm going to talk about empathy. The decrease in empathy is slowly killing us. Caring about one another is what makes us human. There's no such thing as it's not that deep. It is that deep. Why are we so adamant to prove to one another that we don't care? We need each other. We need community. Caring shouldn't be limited to people you look up to or to people who will help you, your social status. Everyone deserves to be cared for. When I first saw this post, I thought to myself, there really seems to be a lack of empathy around us, where people are so focused on themselves, on their desires, on what it is that other people can do for them, rather than actually focusing on the ways in which we can actually help people in our lives. And the reason for this is because these types of people, they think they deserve that kindness. They think they deserve that village, but they don't actually want to put in the effort to make that village, to make that community. And people say that we need that community. And indeed, we do, and more than ever, especially in this world that is so individualistic. Everybody's focusing on their own things, on the ways in which people can help them, on the ways they can better their lives. It doesn't matter who we need to step on or who we need to ignore or who we need to treat poorly, as long as we make ourselves happy. That's the kind of culture that is being thrown at us, especially in America, where everybody needs to be individualistic. If not, you get set behind. And it's done on purpose too. There's a lack of community bonding in which people nowadays feel more alone than ever. And that's because people in their minds, they think, well, no one's helping me, so why should I help anybody else? That's why there's a decrease in empathy. That's why people don't really give a shit about anybody else, because nobody gives a shit about them. And so why would you put in the care, the need into something, knowing that nobody would do the same thing for you? The problem is that if you're in a pinch, if you're in a situation, you want that help back. You hope, you wish that somebody would come and out of the goodness of their own heart help you. If you're struggling in life, you wish for that person to come in and to help you in any way possible that they can, that they take care of your child when you don't have the funds to hire a babysitter, that they look after your dog when you're on vacation without expecting pay, that you come to help them with anything. But when it comes to you actually putting in the effort to help somebody else, you don't do that. And that's the problem. This kind of culture and society that's propagating this idea of needing to be like, oh, all about me, it's all about me. You forget that actually the point of life is the ways in which we can give to others. It's not about taking and taking things for ourselves. It's in putting in the effort into things, into people, and for the good of society, for the good of the world, for the good of oneself. The reason that we want to prove to others is that we don't care is because we are so convinced by the by the world around us, by the things that are being shown to us, that all of these things that are supposed to matter don't actually matter at the end of the day. that people out there are actually out to get you, that people out there are there to hate on you, to treat you like shit, to tear you down, to have opinions that are different than yours. And so we go at each other, against each other. We're more divided than ever because they want it to be that way, because that's how they benefit. They benefit from us not sticking together and creating communities and being there for one another. They take advantage of us and our individualistic state, caring about nobody but ourselves. And the worst part is that I get it. I get it. Because in certain aspects, you need to be selfish. You need to, in order to survive in this world. That's the worst part, is that the reason why there's no more empathy is because we are now forced to be selfish. Because nobody will be there to catch us. And the funny part is that that's not even our fault primarily. I mean, it is kind of our fault because the kind of idea propagates, right? Nobody would go out of their way to help us, so we don't go out of our way to help us because we have this kind of idea that we should expect things from others. When in reality, everything we need to do is based off of not expecting anything in return, but by simply doing good for the good of everyone and for the good of ourselves. But we live in a world that is so egocentric, right? We value the things that are material above all else. And then afterwards, when all the material wealth is gained, then we start thinking like, oh, there's probably more to life than just all of these goods and services and pleasures in life. The world has programmed us to be against each other. And it's quite sad. They say that it takes a village to raise a child. But nobody actually wants to be a villager. Nobody wants to put in the efforts of being part of a community. Nobody wants to be selfless for the sake of being selfless, of helping anybody else that's not themselves. Nobody actually wants to put themselves in the shoes of another person that's struggling because it's too hard, because it's too difficult, because they don't understand. It is slowly killing us. It is. It really is. And even on the internet, you can see people fighting about different like political ideas, religious ideas. It's just everybody fighting against one another, trying to win, trying to prove to the other person that there's a right way to think, that there's a right way to be and exist in this world when there isn't. There just isn't. But no, we're fighting against one another because it's much easier than accepting that we are all actually just living this world for the first and last time. In this individualistic world or culture that we live in, that's primarily focused on separating us from others because we're afraid, because we don't trust people anymore, because a lot of different reasons. And even in dating, like people can't even date anymore because they just hate the other gender. It's absolutely insane the lengths we go to not put ourselves in the position of another human being. It's insane to me how other people struggle to put themselves in the position of another human being, especially now more than ever. We have a hard time just imagining ourselves in the body, in the soul of another person, because we can't comprehend struggles of another human being, because that's how internally focused we all are. And I'm not just talking about me, I'm not just talking about you, I'm talking about the world, people around us. Because I could go on and to say, well, no, like I'm empathetic and I put myself in other people's shoes, and I do as much as I can, and there are certain things that I'm not perfect at, but I recognize that this is just a global problem, and that it's true that the decrease of empathy is really slowly killing us, but not only killing us, it's separating us from one another. Because really, the most wonderful thing in this world is being a part of a community, needing that space where we could just rely on others, because we are not meant to live a life of solitude. But people are choosing a life of solitude because nobody else around them actually gives a fuck about them. And so I don't blame those people, because the way that the world is right now, nobody trusts anybody. Nobody trusts one another. And how sad is that? That instead of trying to put ourselves in the positions of persons or people that we don't agree with, instead we shame them. We treat them like shit. We put them down. We think we're better than them. But that's the way the world is going right now. And you know what? I get it. I get it. But honestly, if you're one of these people that has so much empathy for others, it drains you, because you see just how much care you put into other people and nobody else around you cares or puts in the same effort as you. Or maybe they do care, but they don't show it in the way that you expect. But honestly, people who actually put in the effort, who are able to put themselves in the shoes of another person, I urge you to not give up. Don't give up. Don't just let it go. Don't just succumb to just not giving a shit about anybody. Because then, yeah, you might do all of the things that you want to do. Yeah, you might accomplish all of the things that you want in your life. But then you'll have nobody to rely on. You won't have any trust with anybody. And so, I think for us to fix this issue is to continue to be, or to try to be, empathetic, with no expectation that somebody should feel this way about us as well. Because it is by putting energy into the world that that energy eventually, hopefully, transfers within itself. That's it for today. Thanks.